Well, hey, the ageless arborist here. I'm just sitting out on the farm. We got a little family getaway at my daughter and son-in-law's farm up in Black River Falls, Wisconsin. And I just had my labs taken last week. I am officially over the 1 year mark of a ketogenic diet. And it's not a fad diet. You know, I've mentioned carnivore a lot, but I'm predominantly carnivore. But I'll introduce different carbs at different times. I mean, every day I have coffee, so that's not pure carnivore. I didn't give up my coffee. I got full fat cream in the coffee. And I was a sourdough maker prior to this ketogenic state. So I gave up gluten for, long time. And then somewhere around, my LDL went up. I was a lean mass hyperresponder. And so I had LDL in excess of 400, 429 was my peak. And so, that gives me pause. My doctor, of course, is freaking out. And I've seen a cardiologist who wanted to put me on she was reading where I was coming from, so she didn't offer a statin. She offered me Zetia, I think, which isn't directly a statin. But I think it's a SPK9 inhibitor. So I'm not interested in medicinal manipulation of the numbers. I'm achieving these numbers by natural dietary intake. And as you'll see, most of the numbers are all in great shape. And, with the exception of the high LDL. And so, to think that I'm going to just manipulate that lower, who knows? I mean, my testosterone's super high too because of my high LDL, because LDL is required to make testosterone. So there's a positive energy impact with my testosterone numbers. So at any rate, let's just kind of take a peek at these. So I did the NMR lipid profile, the more advanced lipid profile test, the insulin resistance score. And so my LDLP was 2759. That's off the charts because the chart goes up to 1,000. Very high is listed as greater than 2,000. So I'm at 2759. So that's in the red. LDLC was 320. So it was 337 the last time I had this particular test. HDL-C was 117. So that's high, over 100. And they're saying, if it's over 60, it's good. Well, mine's over 100, 117. My triglycerides were 72. So officially, I wasn't quite a lean mass hyperresponder because it's supposed to be 70 or less on the triglycerides. But I was well over 200 on my LDL, 117 on my HDL, 72 on my triglycerides. So I have a less than 1 on the triglycerides to HDL ratio. And 1 to 1 is supposed to be healthy. And I have less than 1 to 1. So my total cholesterol is 445, which is insanely high. But, the last time I took this test was 471. So I've come down slightly. So I was mentioning the sourdough bread. You've heard of the Oreo cookie versus statin test. Well, I've kind of done that experiment with myself, except I use sourdough bread. So fermented gluten is better than gluten. So, I utilize that. when I add carbohydrates, we got a little breeze out here on the farm. You can see the windmill functioning in the back. When I have carbs, you know, a lot of times it might be a slice of the sourdough bread. 50 grams of sourdough bread is about 24 grams of carbs. So it's very calculated, very measured. I don't seem to have a reaction to that. But I try to stay, you know, below 50 grams to stay in ketosis. I did a little experiment. I did that experiment for 1 week, and I did 200 grams of bread a day. So I'm basically taking myself out of ketosis, but I dropped my LDL down to 244. And everything else was kind of the same. I had like a 117 HDL and lower than 70 triglycerides. So that experiment was proving true for me as well. So the lipid energy model appears to be correct in my life, in my experience. Now my LDL size is 22, and that's it. That's off the charts. You know, it's up. You know, greater than 20 is good. So I have very large, fluffy LDL, just like it's supposed to be. My insulin was higher this time. It was 7.2. Oh, I got sheets in the rain, in the wind. Where's my insulin? Huh. It's on one of these sheets somewhere. My insulin's like 7.2. Can't even find where it's at. My insulin resistance score is less than 25. Like it's all the way at the bottom of the chart. So that's pretty impressive. What is it? 23. That's pretty good. So let's see. Oh, here's my insulin. Thyroid's looking great. Let's go through the comprehensive metabolic panel. Everything down the thyroid. Oh, this wind is turning into a big bother. My fasting glucose is 99. You know, last time it was 97. I always ride up in that 99, 100 on fasting glucose. And consequently, my A1C is also high. Hemoglobin A1C, 5.7. You know, so that's borderline pre-diabetic. So my sugar runs a little high on the fast, and my A1C, which is the 3-month average, runs a little high. Now, the best discussion about that I've heard recently is Dr. Catherine why can't I remember her name? She wrote Dark Calories. So anyways, look up Dark Calories. You'll get her name. But Shanahan, that's it, Dr. Shanahan. She wrote Dark Calories, and the dark calories are the seed oils. You know, and she's done a lot of research. And she's saying, you know, it's going to take me 2 to 4 years to get the seed oils out of my cells. And I would imagine that range of years is going to vary, maybe depending on the rate of autophagy, where I'm shedding cells and cells are dying and I'm replacing them with new ones. And so as long as I stay away from seed oils, as I replace cells, they'll be free from the seed oils. Now, the seed oils are not burned as fuel. They're not a preferred fuel to burn. So she kind of cautions against a ketogenic diet, because if you're burning a lot of these seed oils, you can cause damage to the mitochondria, is what she's claiming. Now, I didn't have a ton of fat to lose. I was, relatively lean. If you'd have looked at me when I was 235 pounds, you wouldn't think I was fat. I just carried the weight all over my body. But now I'm, 210. My low was 197. And I was starting to look a little gaunt. That was on the way down. I just kept going, and there I was dipping under 200 pounds. And everybody's asking me, when are you going to stop, And I was probably losing, some muscle mass. And so I've continued my exercises. I got actually good muscle mass. I've built some back. So part of that coming back to 210 may have been putting on muscle mass too. But I've added some of the carbohydrates, and probably in a fat adapted state, if I'm burning the fat as energy, the fat that I'm consuming, any carbohydrates I take probably gets packed away and stored right away, because I'm leaning towards fat adaptation, and the carbs maybe are just getting put away as fat right away. Like, man, I've been losing weight for the last 9 months. I got to put something back in. I don't know how the body responds, but at any rate, my weight has rebounded to 210 pounds roughly, and so my testosterone this last time was 844. That's pretty high. I mean, before I started the ketogenic diet, I was in the 300s. So 300 to 800, and I don't take supplements. So figure that out. There's positive energy result there, definitely. Now this is remarkable. My vitamin D has been on the rise. Over a year ago, it was 25. In fact, less than a year. In August, it was 25. That's low for vitamin D. It was at 93.8 this last time. It was at 73.9 last time. The time before that, it was at 50. So my vitamin D has been coming right back up. And, 100 is the top of the range there. And so I've got solid immunities from vitamin D. C-reactive protein, that's a inflammation indicator, 0.19. And that should be, the range is 0 to 3. So I'm at 0.19. I'm closer to 0 than I am to 1, much less 3. So I have no, less than 1 is a low chance of cardiovascular events. So that's a great sign. So my LDL is at 320, but my C-reactive protein is at 0.19. So that takes my look at this, my uric acid, which is a target for gout potential, and uric acid is getting a lot of press lately. So my uric acid's at 5.1. So that's right in the middle. 3.8 to 8.4 is the reference interval. And I'm right down the middle. So I'm not too disappointed with that. That was the first time I took my uric acid just to see, because I'd heard so much press about it. So everything is right down the middle on my whole comprehensive metabolic panel. Creatinine, kidney function, 1.09. Last time was 1.08. So it's on the low side of center. That's great. My liver numbers, AST 21, ALT 25. Right down the middle. Perfect. And then what's interesting is I got the regular lipid panel as well as the advanced. And so in the regular, my LDL cholesterol was 323. And what was it in the other one? It's amazing the difference that you'll see. 320. So 320 to 323. Same blood, coming out of the same draw, but you get a little variance from test to test. And the triglycerides, 71 versus 72. HDL was 111 versus 117. So they were kind of similar. My VLDL, my remnant cholesterol, they refer to that a lot of times, is only 7. So it's really low. And that's a positive sign. Most people have a much higher remnant cholesterol, but because of the lipid energy model, that's consistent to have a low amount of VLDL in serum at any given time, because you're converting the energy so quickly. Those VLDLs are converting to LDLs at a high rate. My thyroxine T4 is 7.0, out of 12 for a high. So that's right down the middle. Where's the other one? Where's the rest of that thyroid panel? There we go. The T3 was 26, so that's right down the middle. That's actually on the low side. 24 to 39 is the range, and I'm 26. The free thyroxine index, 1.8, and it's 1.2 to 4.9, so I'm on the low side there. Let's see, what else? Okay, no surprise. Okay, my insulin was 7.6, and last time it was 5.2. So I kind of increased my carbs a little bit, trying to pacify my doctors, just trying to see, okay, can I find some kind of equilibrium and stay mostly ketogenic and, add some carbs. So I've kind of had that, 25 to 50 grams of sourdough bread per day when I have it. I don't bake it all the time. So, there'll be a week or two I don't have any. And then a week or two where I have a little bit every day. And so my insulin is up to 7.6 from 5.2. My insulin low was like 1.6. I was way down. I think that was when I was 197. So there's some fluctuation there. My ApoB is 211. It was 224 before. So I came down on the ApoB. Now, I just listened to something last night saying, if you have high triglycerides and a high ApoB, that's a bad combination. Because that's going to lead to issues. But my triglycerides are low at 72. So, and my HDL is high. So if you have a high ApoB and a high triglycerides, usually the HDL is low. And not only is it low, but what it has on board is a bunch of triglycerides. And what my HDL has on board is the remnant cholesterol that the VLDL is dumping off as it shrinks down to an LDL. And the HDL picks up that cholesterol to take it back to the liver. So my HDL is high because there's a lot of cholesterol to take back to the liver. And it doesn't have triglycerides on board. It has the cholesterol on board. And so that podcast that I'd heard about the high ApoB and the low HDL and the high triglycerides, that's a bad combination. So is my high ApoB bad? I don't know. I can't say it's not. That's why I kind of wanted a CT angiogram, but my cardiologist won't give that to me. I have to find a new cardiologist. But, you know, my wife is trying to speak some rationale into my mind. You know, biohacking can become an addictive activity. So I'm only going to take my labs every 3 months. That's what I'm going to do. And maybe that's when I'll post a video. You know, I've got the channel Ageless Arborist. I'm going to kind of track this journey. I intend to keep this lifestyle ongoing because I've had such great results. I can climb trees. I can do stuff. I feel good. I have good energy. I can play with my grandkids. I'm going to take them up into trees today. We finally got some sunshine. Got a little rain this morning. And Jared cut hay. I guarantee for rain. Lay hay on the ground, you're going to get rain. So it didn't rain too hard. So hopefully the breeze will dry this out pretty good. He's going to rake it, flip it over. And if the breeze stays up today, he'll probably chop it. But yeah, so I'm gonna stick my labs to once every 3 months, and it'll be interesting to watch this A1C. Is it going to be as I'm clearing these bad fats, the seed oils? They're not good fats, folks. They're not good fats. Don't believe that lie. They're manufactured by man. They're not manufactured by God. They are refined by man. And they, you know, in nature, they were meant to be eaten with things. And sometimes they're coming from seeds that we were never meant to eat. And not from the fruit itself. You know, the fats that are generally good for you are fats that are taken directly from fruit, like avocado or olive or coconut, but not the refined versions of those. So your cheap olive oil is refined out of the pulp. It's not the first stuff off the press. The best olive oil for you is the stuff that's right off the press, the super ultra virgin olive oil. That's what's just naturally pressed out of the fruit. It doesn't have to be refined out of the pulp. And same with avocado. The first press gets the good oil, not the refined oil. And so, at any rate, I don't even use those. I use beef tallow and ghee. Those are my go-to oils. But I'll eat olives. I like olives. So I'll eat olives. I'll eat avocado here and there. I've got some fermented green beans that I'll do. You know, I don't drink milk, but I'll drink pure cream. And we've got an unhomogenized creamery in the area that we buy from. And so you got to shake your cream. It's really good cream. And it's half the price of, you know, we get a half gallon for $7.50. You know, you can't buy a quart for $7.50 in the regular store. So that's a great deal. And I'll drink 3.5% milk fat kefir. You know, I've acquired a taste for that because I don't have a sweet tooth anymore. So kefir actually, you know, tastes good to me. And plain yogurt, I might have some of that. But that's the only dairy I'll do. I don't drink milk just because of the carb content. And I probably put on weight if I drank too much milk. I'll eat cheese here and there, but again, it's just a condiment. I don't fill up on cheese. And nuts, I don't do too many nuts. I could overeat cashews. So I kind of try to stay away from the nuts, except here and there. I had a few pistachios this morning. And the carbs, if I have a piece of sourdough bread, it's after I've had 6 eggs and a half-pound of burger. So in the morning, I eat. Hey, and these numbers that I just read you, for the last 2.5 months, I've essentially had a dozen eggs a day. 6 eggs in the morning, 6 eggs at night. And if it wasn't 6 in the morning, 6 at night, it was 6 in the morning and 4 at night. It was always like 8 eggs or more a day. Okay, so everything you hear, now that's me. So I'm an N of 1. I'm not saying eat a dozen eggs a day, it's going to be the same for you. But literally, for almost this whole 3 months, I've eaten a dozen eggs a day with hamburger and steak. Steak at night, hamburger in the morning. So I mix up some hamburger, and it's 70-30 hamburger. So there's a ton of fat in there. And then I mix my eggs in there, and I scramble up the eggs with a little cream. And then at night, I'll eat my eggs just over medium. So I've got a little bit of runny yolk, because you get a little bit more nutrient out of the runny yolks. So at night, I'll have runny yolks. In the morning, I have scrambled eggs. So my diet is fairly simple. A lot of steaks, a lot of hamburger, and cocoa, however you want to say it. The snobs call it cocoa. And I'll have 90% cocoa and a little bit of full fat cream. That's like ice cream to me. I'll have 1 square of that, maybe 2 squares if I'm splurging. And so there's a few carbohydrates there. But yeah, I've found a way to have a very enjoyable lifestyle. I like what I eat. I have good energy. Everybody's thinking about lunch right now. I'm not even thinking about lunch. I eat in the morning, I eat at night. 2 meals a day. And then every Thursday, from Wednesday supper to Thursday supper, I fast. So a 24-hour fast once a week. And there's, a few days in there, I get a 16-hour fast. Like I don't do breakfast and I don't eat till noon. And then I'll eat at noon and a lighter supper at 6. So I get, 1 24-hour fast a week and probably 1 or 2 16-hour fasts a week. And I have numerous 12-hour fasts because I eat every 12 hours. So I automatically have a 12-hour fast twice a day, usually. So it's a good lifestyle. I'm having good results with it, and we're having fun, aren't we, Soph? Huh? Hey, pup. Yeah, it's a good day. Out on the farm, having fun. Game of trees. Ageless arborist out. Have fun.